بعالم عم يتغير بسرعة أصبحت العملات الرقمية جزء كبير من المشهد الاقتصادي العالمي، ومع هذا التحول عم تلعب منطقة الشرق الأوسط دور مهم بتشكيل مستقبل الأصول المشفرة. اليوم بإرن بزنس رح نستضيف شخصية بارزة بهذا القطاع، بدر الكلوتي، المدير الإقليمي لشركة بينانس بالشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا، منصة الأكبر عالميا بتداول العملات الرقمية. بهذا البودكاست رح نناقش معه توسع باينانس بالمنطقة، تحديات التنظيمية ومستقبل الترميز الرقمي وسلوك المتداولين بظل تقلبات السوق. تابعونا إذا كنتم من المهتمين بالاستثمار أو ببساطة بدكم تفهموا شو عم بيصير خلف كواليس أكبر منصة كريبتو بالعالم. بدر الكلوتي، المدير الإقليمي لباينانس بالشرق الأوسط، أهلا وسهلا فيك.
Thank you.
توسعت منصة باينانس بشكل كبير عملياتها بالشرق الأوسط. من منظور اقتصادي شو اللي بيجعل هذه المنطقة خصوصا دول الخليج سوق استراتيجي للأصول المشفرة؟
Okay, the MENA region is a very significant market, not only for Binance, but I think for the Web3 industry as a whole, for several reasons. Number one, it has a very large, growing, and young population. We have around 600 million people across the region, and 60% of them are actually under the age of 30. So it's very conducive for crypto adoption and for the industry to thrive. They're also very tech savvy, right? You have high smartphone penetrations with 75% plus, which means they're very much likely to consume new and disruptive technologies that improve daily life. Also, in some of the wealthier pockets, crypto at a government level is strategically imported to diversify away from the oil and gas sector, while for the corporates and individuals in those markets with high disposable income, crypto acts as a means for asset diversification. On the flip side, in markets where GDP isn't as high, crypto is essentially seen as a new way to kind of jolt the economy and a way for people to leapfrog traditional banking gaps. A lot of people in the region still remain unbanked, and crypto is a great alternative for those individuals to be able to grow and preserve their capital. And lastly, I think it's a very powerful point as well. The remittance corridors in MENA is quite large, and it's very much prime for Web3 disruption, moving value from place to place, from person to person, is a lot more efficient and faster using crypto. Today, I think there's around 150 billion plus in terms of outflows from the GCC alone. So I think all those reasons combined make the MENA market a great opportunity for the Web3 space.
بظل ريادة الإمارات بتنظيم قطاع الأصول الرقمية، كيف تنظر باينانس اليوم إلى دور دولة الإمارات بتشكيل مستقبل الاقتصاد الرقمي العالمي؟
Okay, so the UAE is very important as well when it comes to Web3. I think it's one of the, I'd say, prominent Web3 hubs around the world. Since the establishment of crypto-friendly regulations, and we've seen a huge influx of entrepreneurs, companies that have moved to the UAE to operate in the space. It has one of the highest crypto adoption rates at around 30%, which is very important because when you want to mainstream crypto, it's important to show that crypto is not just an asset class for trading. It's also an underlying technology with a lot of utility around it that can improve and enhance efficiency, right? So, that's a very important element which the UAE does very well. The adoption rates are high, but the use cases are also very much prominent and used across different sectors with different industry players, be it retail, corporates. But not only that, the government itself is not only a supportive, supporter of crypto, but they're also consumers of blockchain technology. So, blockchain is being used across the board to drive efficiency from a federal level, which is great to see. So ultimately, the UAE sets a very powerful precedent for other markets to begin to also embrace crypto. It shows that typical concerns can be addressed and that there is real benefit that can be realized by embracing Web3 and crypto.
عم بيشهد قطاع الترميز الرقمي توكنايزيشن ازدهار بالمنطقة. شو تقييم باينانس لهذا القطاع اليوم وكيف عم بيأثر على سوق الأصول المشفرة؟ وإذا ممكن نفهم أكثر مصطلح توكنايزيشن شو هو بالضبط؟
No, that's a great question. It's one of the areas that I'm personally quite excited about, and I think it's going to be one of the more powerful use cases for the industry. So let's start at what is tokenization and why it's important. So essentially, tokenization helps to enhance liquidity, right, for any asset. Why? Because it enables fractional ownership and makes it easier for someone to buy, sell, or trade that asset quickly and efficiently. Number two, it increases transparency because it provides kind of this, ledger that's immutable. And when you have things on the blockchain, obviously by the nature of the blockchain, you cannot change a record on a blockchain on the ledger system. So you can then eliminate fraud and you can improve trust because everything is transparent and it can be found on the blockchain. It also, more importantly, creates access because it lowers the barriers of entry for retail audience, right? So there traditionally a lot of asset classes were restricted to institutional investors or high net worth individuals. With tokenizations, a lot more retail participation can come in because, for example, entry into a treasury bond required a certain amount, or a private equity fund required a certain amount of minimal capital. Now that can be fractionalized and split into smaller units that retail participants can now come in. And lastly, it's going to drive efficiency and cost reduction.
هل بتعتقد أن الأطر التنظيمية بالمنطقة كافية لدعم نمو هذه الصناعة؟ ووين بتشوف الحاجة إلى المزيد من التطور؟
Yeah, look, I think with anything new, things will always obviously evolve. So as of today, I would say yes, they're sufficient, but obviously there's always room for improvement because this industry is also very much changing, right, on a daily basis. And there's a lot of things that are developing, still a work in progress. So we have no choice but for the industry, or so I would say the regulators in the industry to kind of keep up. And so things will eventually change from where they are today. That's absolutely normal. So for us, I think the area where we would see some improvement could be in the harmonization of the regulations between various jurisdictions. Over time, things will tend to converge toward common best practices with some nuances from market to market. But that overall will help kind of streamline the user experience because as of today, some jurisdictions have varying levels of regulation where things are kind of different from place to place. So the user journey might not be as harmonized. And you've seen this in other asset classes before, where regulations tend to kind of like start in a fragmented way, country by country, but essentially over time they converge to something more common at a global level, which is going to happen over time.
لا يزال غسيل الأموال وتمويل الأنشطة الغير مشروعة عبر العملات المشفرة عم بشكل مصدر قلق. ما الدور اليوم اللي عم تلعبه باينانس بهذا المجال تحديداً؟
Okay, look, combating illicit activity in crypto is something that we take, very seriously at Binance. And we've invested very heavily in compliance. We work closely with regulators, law enforcement, and partners around the world to make sure that we strengthen our security standard and have a shared intelligence network where needed, right? Our platform uses advanced monitoring tools and blockchain analytics to detect and prevent suspicious activity in real time if it happens. But I just want to be clear about something. Illicit activity in crypto has improved drastically since the inception of the industry. And on the contrary, blockchain technology combined with mandatory KYC on most centralized exchanges makes it now more effective to combat AML than traditional fiat rails or systems. And just to put things in perspective, only around 0.15% of on-chain transactions were actually linked to illicit activity in 2024, whereas 5% of global GDP is estimated to be laundered using fiat currency. So it just kind of illustrates and underscores the point that actually blockchain is a great tool to combat AML, given its transparent, immutable, attributes.
بالعادة بترتفع معظم العملات والقطاعات مع بعض خلال صعود السوق بطبيعة الحال، لكن بالدورة الحالية يبدو أنه الارتفاع عم يقتصر على بيتكوين مثل ما شفنا بالفترة الأخيرة. ليش برأيك؟ وهل بتتوقع أنه يمتد هالارتفاع ليشمل قطاعات ورموز أخرى؟
Yep, so that's a good question. And it's true. This bull run and this cycle is a bit different than what we've seen before, right? A big part of that is driven by the fact that we've seen a significant increase in institutional demand, which wasn't the case before. That will, inherently change the dynamics of the market, specifically around Bitcoin, all right? The ETFs have now introduced a lot of new capital into the market, but mainly into Bitcoin because there's a clearer use case and a more defined risk reward kind of element to Bitcoin versus other crypto assets that institutions may be more comfortable with, right? So that's number one. Number two, there's also a structural difference in the flow of funds, right? Before Bitcoin, obviously as the hero asset, would draw in the lion's share of the what we call new to crypto capital through centralized exchanges or DEXs, right? Now, most, I won't say most, but a significant component of that new to crypto capital is coming through the ETFs. So that means that this new capital is kind of siloed in the realm of Wall Street, whereas previously the capital would come in on exchanges or DEXs to buy Bitcoin, and then you'd have this kind of waterfall effect where the capital rotates out of Bitcoin into other popular alts like Ethereum, and then to more mid cap and small cap alts. So there's a bit of a disconnect today, which kind of separates the kind of the capital allocation into the space and keeps it restricted to Bitcoin and Ethereum for now, because those are the two that have spot ETFs live at the moment. Okay. Also, today, the number of tokens has increased drastically from before. There's over 30 million tokens out there. So there's inherently liquidity fragmentation happening, along with limited attention to go around.
أخيراً، إذا كان بإمكانك أنه تقدم نصيحة وحدة للمتداولين بظل دورة السوق الحالية، شو بتكون؟
So for traders, my advice is simple, right? The traditional 4-year cycle is no longer the blueprint that you have to follow. Things have changed. You have to stay sharp, do your research, and be ready to move quick, because the market is moving at an incredible pace these days. Make sure to use your stop loss functions, and remember that you need to take profit when you have them. Don't get too greedy. But my advice for non-traders and long-term holders would be to buy and hold for the long term. Use a DCA strategy to do so, because ultimately, in my view, it's not too late. The space is still relatively young. We're only at 3.7 trillion in market cap as an asset class, which is tiny compared to stock markets, bond markets, real estate markets, etc., gold itself. So it's evolving fast, but there's definitely no turning back now, and it's exciting to see the industry continue to grow, inshallah.
المدير الإقليمي لشركة بينانس بالشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا، شكرا جزيلا لك.